You're here because you want to get right to the heart of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grab the knowledge that counts, those insights that really stick, all without, getting totally swamped.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do here on the Deep Dive. And today, well, you've brought us somewhere really significant in literature. A chance meeting in Fyodor Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment.
That's right. We're focusing in on this really intense interaction. It's between the main character, Raskolnikov, and this, well, deeply tragic figure, Marmeladov, all happening in this sort of humble, pretty down-a-hill tavern.
Yeah, try and picture it for a second. Raskolnikov, he's usually so cut off from everyone, right?
Right.
But suddenly he's got this almost frantic need for company. It's after weeks of just agonizing inside his own head.
Yeah, Dostoevsky actually calls it concentrated wretchedness and gloomy excitement. It's a powerful phrase.
It really is. And in that state of mind, he walks right into, well, let's just say it's not exactly a five-star establishment.
Oh, definitely not. The description Dostoevsky gives, it paints such a stark picture, doesn't it? This oily landlord, food you probably shouldn't look at too closely.
Right.
And the air is just thick with the smell of cheap booze. It's really oppressive.
And then there's Marmeladov himself. You can almost see him, can't you?
Yeah.
Slumped over, man over 50, bald patch, grizzled, this kind of sickly yellowy green look to his puffy face.
And those eyes. Feverish red eyes.
Yeah. And his clothes are barely hanging on his raggedy black coat with just one button done up, stained shirt. Even with all that, the obvious poverty, there's something else about him, isn't there? A kind of contradictory vibe.
Absolutely. A sort of faded officialdom mixed with this restless energy.
And what's fascinating, like you said, is that even before Marmeladov says a word, Raskolnikov is drawn to him.
Yeah, which is so unlike Raskolnikov. He usually avoids people, actively shuns them.
But here he feels this immediate, almost instinctive pull towards this stranger, this veiled clerk. It tells you a lot about Raskolnikov's own state, I think.
Definitely highlights his internal turmoil.
And then Marmeladov speaks. And it's not what you'd expect, is it? This incredibly formal, almost theatrical way of talking. He announces himself titular counselor, no less.
Right. Despite looking like he does, he clocks Raskolnikov as educated, someone sort of worthy of his attention.
It's such a strong contrast, this grand speech from someone so obviously, well, at the bottom.
It hints at that dignity he's lost, doesn't it? A desperate sort of clinging on to respectability.
And from that point on, it's like, oh, whoosh, the floodgates open.
Totally. Fueled by drink, obviously, but also this overwhelming need to confess. He just spills everything.
Doesn't hold back at all.
Mm-hmm.
Dives right into the bleakest parts of his life.
He really does. And one of the first things he says is so revealing, Poverty is not a vice. That's a true saying.
Right.
Yet I know, too, that drunkenness is not a virtue. But beggary, honored sir, beggary is a vice.
Wow. So right away, you see his thinking. It's not just lacking money. It's the total loss of dignity. That's the real sin for him.
Exactly. That's the vice. And then he talks about sleeping rough on a hay barge for 5 nights. Just rock bottom.
Yeah, just horrible. And he follows that with the story about Mr. Lebeziatnikov eating his wife. And Marmeladov just stood there drunk, couldn't do anything.
The self-hatred just pours out. He calls himself a useless worm. It's brutal.
And it's not just the physical hardship he talks about, is it? It's the humiliation, too.
Oh, definitely. That feeling of hopelessly asking for a loan, knowing they'll say no. He even makes this sarcastic comment about Lebeziatnikov's modern ideas, how science supposedly forbids compassion now.
Right, like this cold indifference he gets from everyone.
Yeah.
But then it gets even tougher. The revelation about his daughter, Sonya, having to get a yellow ticket.
Yeah, the way he just sort of slips it in, mentioning the yellow passport in parentheses, it's almost unbearable.
And for listeners, just to be clear, that yellow ticket, that was essentially a license for prostitution. It shows the absolute desperation poverty forced on people, on families.
And what's really striking is what he does right after confessing that. He turns on himself, asks Raskolnikov, "Dare you assert that I am not a pig?"
Such self-loathing.
But then in the very next breath, he fiercely defends his wife, Katerina Ivanovna, calls her educated, noble.
It's this incredible conflict inside him, isn't it? Hating himself, but fiercely proud of or protective of his family.
Totally. He says he just needs one place, one person to feel for him, but acknowledges even Katerina Ivanovna, despite everything, is unjust to him sometimes.
And then the confession about selling her things, her stockings, her shawl, these last little bits of her old life sold for drink money.
It just rams home how utterly destitute they are.
Yeah.
And you hear about their room freezing cold, Katerina Ivanovna's health failing the cough, spitting blood, signs of consumption, tuberculosis.
Terrible. And despite being so ill herself, she's trying to keep things clean, look after 3 little kids.
Working yourself to the bone, basically. Trying to hold on to some shred of normalcy.
And then he says that line, oh, it's devastating. I drink so that I may suffer twice as much.
Yeah. What do you even make of that? It's such perverse logic.
It's like he's not looking for escape. He's looking to amplify the pain.
Maybe.
Or just feel something.
It speaks to this incredibly deep level of despair, doesn't it? Maybe self-punishment? Maybe just trying to break through the numbness of it all.
He then shifts focus, starts talking about Katerina Ivanovna's past. Paints her as this woman from a good background.
Yeah, educated at a fancy school, danced for important people, even got a gold medal.
Which is long gone now, right?
Sold her pond, yeah. But he mentions the certificate of merit is still somewhere, like this tiny, poignant reminder of a completely different life. He stresses how proud she is, scrubbing floors, but refusing to be disrespected.
And the story of her first husband, married for love, but he was a gambler, abusive even.
Right, and died young, leaving her completely alone. But she still remembers him fondly, which says a lot about her, I think, her loyalty.
Yeah, her capacity for enduring. Then left a widow, 3 kids, dirt poor, her own family wouldn't help.
Which really shows how vulnerable women were. And then Marmeladov proposes, out of pity, basically, and she accepts out of sheer desperation.
Not exactly a fairy tale beginning.
Not at all, just survival.
He mentions being sober for a year after they married, which is interesting. Shows he could, maybe.
A fleeting glimpse of potential, yeah. But then he loses his job, not his fault at first, he says, and the drinking takes over again.
And that brings them to their current state.
Yeah.
Sharing a horrible room in this chaotic, filthy lodging house.
Yeah.
Just utter degradation.
And we can't forget Sonya and all this, his daughter from his first wife.
Yeah.
No education, strained relationship with the stepmother.
Okay.
Understandably.
We hear about her trying to earn money sewing, and even that small amount gets kept from her unfairly.
Which leads to that incredibly powerful moment he describes.
Yeah.
The unspoken thing. Sonya goes out, comes back with 30 rubles.
Yeah. The silence, the shame, the sacrifice, everyone knows where it came from.
And then Katerina Ivanovna kneels down and kisses Sonya's feet. Wow. That image.
Yeah, it stays with you. Such profound compassion. Right there in the middle of all that horror, Katerina recognizing the immense sacrifice.
Acknowledging the burden Sonya's taken on for them all.
Of course. Marmeladov gets another job briefly, but, well, you know what happens.
Yeah, the drinking ruins it again. But there's that little flash of hope beforehand, isn't there? Katerina and Sonya fussing over him, making coffee, buying him some clothes.
Slightly better food.
Yeah.
Like a moment of sunlight.
And Katerina Ivanovna is so desperate, she even exaggerates his success to the landlady, just clinging on to that hope.
But then the relapse.
Yeah.
And he steals the money. His earnings, but her money she was carefully saving.
Yeah.
Steals it right out of her box.
Literally steals their last hope. It's just crushing.
And then he goes to Sonya, his own daughter, who's already sacrificed everything.
And asks her for money for drink. And she gives him her last 30 kopecks.
It's this awful cycle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dependence, self-destruction, poverty, despair, just feeding itself.
He even talks about how being pitied hurts more than being blamed. Right. That cuts deep.
And in that pit of despair, he has this sort of outburst, doesn't he? Almost like a prophecy.
Yeah, about God's forgiveness, how maybe the drunkards, the weak, people like him will be welcomed in the end. It's this desperate cry for redemption, maybe. A belief that even he isn't beyond grace.
Which leads right into him deciding suddenly, I have to go to Katerina Ivanovna. Yeah. And he leans on Raskolnikov, literally, for support.
And he admits he's not scared of her hitting him. He's scared of her eyes, her feverish look, the sound of the kids crying.
That's more terrifying to him. He even seems to almost welcome her anger, find some weird comfort in it.
It is disturbing, like a kind of masochism maybe, a feeling he deserves the punishment, that her anger validates his suffering somehow.
So they get to the place, Kazel's house, and the setting just gets worse. Dark stairway, 4th floor, this cramped room that's basically a hallway for other people.
Yeah, you can hear all the noise from the other rooms in the flat parties, arguments. Amalie Lipovexel's place sounds like chaos. It just highlights how trapped and isolated the Marmeladovs are within that chaos.
And then we see Katerina Ivanovna, emaciated, pacing, that hectic flush on her cheeks, eyes just burning with fever and desperation.
The contrast with the noble woman he described earlier, it's just heartbreakingly stark.
And the children. Oh, the description of the children. The youngest asleep on the floor, the others huddled, crying, watching their mother terrified.
It's just a devastating picture of innocence caught in this nightmare.
Then Marmeladov makes his entrance, dramatically, on his knees.
And Katerina Ivanovna's reaction, first, like, stunned silence, then this explosion of fury, accusations flying.
Her frantically looking for the money he stole, then physically dragging him. And he just accepts it. Almost seems to relish the abuse. It's really hard to read.
It's brutal. And the kids are screaming, terrified. Katerina's crying about being hungry, blaming Raskolnikov just for being there, for drinking with him.
And then the neighbors, the other lodgers, peering in, amused by it all. Amalie Lipovexel threatening them. It's complete social breakdown. Degradation.
Total chaos.
And Raskolnikov, in the middle of this, he just impulsively leaves his change on the windowsill. A small act of pity.
But almost instantly regrets it, right? Thinks about his own poverty, how he might need that money later.
Yeah.
A glimpse into his own struggles.
Yeah, and his thoughts as he leaves are so dark, so cynical. Thinking about Sonya, how much her smartness costs, how humans just get used to anything, calls man a scoundrel.
It shows him getting maybe harder, more disillusioned by what he's just seen. It's impacting him deeply.
But then, right at the end of the chapter, after all that bleakness, comes this question flickering in his mind.
What if man is not really a scoundrel?
Then all the rest is prejudice, simply artificial terrors, and there are no barriers, and it's all as it should be. Like it's a tiny crack opening up, a possibility that things aren't fixed this way.
It's a huge moment for Raskolnikov, isn't it? This whole encounter, seeing the Marmeladov suffering up close, it forces him to confront these huge questions about humanity, about society, about what's right and wrong, and it raises them for us too as listeners.
So wrapping up this deep dive, what have we really seen? Just from this one intense meeting in a tavern.
Well, we've seen poverty in its rawest form, haven't we? And the complexities of human dignity when faced with utter despair.
Yeah, and that desperate search for connection, even in the worst circumstances. And the cycles of suffering. How hard they are to break.
It's amazing how Dostoevsky packs so much truth about the human condition into just this one interaction. It's like a whole world in one chapter.
And those standout moments. They really hit home, don't they? Marmeladov's idea about beggary being the real vice.
His bizarre reason for drinking to suffer more.
That silent moment between Sonya and Katerina Ivanovna.
Yeah. And Raskolnikov's final unsettling thought, that question mark hanging in the air.
It definitely leaves you thinking. Which brings us to that final thought for you, the listener, to mull over.
Thinking about today, what are the modern versions of Sonya's yellow ticket? You know, what kind of societal pressures still push people into making those kinds of impossible sacrifices just to survive?
That's a heavy question. And does our compassion have limits when we're faced with that kind of economic hardship? Are we maybe building our own barriers, like Raskolnikov wondered, that are just artificial, that keep these cycles going?
Yeah. Are they just prejudices, artificial terrors we create?
Definitely something to sit with. If this deep dive has sparked something for you, we really do recommend going back to the source. Chapter 2, Part 1 of Crime and Punishment. There's always more to find in Dostoevsky.